Hello all. Today is a demo class of special features of femur. This is the interior and the posterior view of right femur. Like any other long bone, it has an upper end, lower end, and an intervening shaft. And the length of the femur is 45 centimeters. The upper end has head, neck, greater trochanter, lesser trochanter, intertrochanteric line in between, and posterior there is an intertrochanteric crest. Now now I'll begin with the head. This is the posterior view of upper end, and this is the lateral view of upper end. Now I'll begin with the head. The head forms the two-third part of the sphere and and it articulates with the acetabulum of the hip bone to form a hip joint. The two-third part of the sphere, which is articular, is lined by hyaline cartilage, except in the center, pit or fovea, where there is an attachment of ligamentum teres. Now, next to the head is the neck. The neck has anterior surface and the posterior surface. The anterior surface has some oblique ridges where there is an attachment of retinacular fiber of fibrous capsule. Next to it, we'll like to discuss about the greater trochanter. The greater trochanter has anterior surface, lateral surface, and the medial surface. The anterior surface, lateral surface, and the medial surface. The anterior surface receives the insertion of gluteus minimus. Now the lateral surface. You can see the lateral surface here also and here also. The lateral surface is divided diagonally by an oblique ridge in the upper part and a lower part. The ridge receives the insertion of gluteus medius. And the upper and the lower part there is a trochanteric bursa. Then there is a medial surface. On the medial surface there is a trochanteric fossa. In the trochanteric fossa, this trochanteric fossa receives obturator externus muscle. And just above this, there is a small fossa here, which receives a conjoint insertion of obturator internus, gemellus superior, and the gemellus inferior. Now, the greater trochanter has two borders. One is the upper border, and another is the posterior border. The posterior border continues with the intertrochanter crest, and the upper border has upturned edge where it receives the piliformis. The lesser trochanter. The lesser trochanter has anterior surface and a posterior surface. The anterior surface has tip and the base. The tip receives the vas major muscle, and at the base it receives the insertion of iliacus. The posterior surface is smooth and is covered by bursa. First, I would like to talk about the intertrochanteric line. Intertrochanteric line receives the attachment of iliofemoral ligament, and it receives the iliofemoral ligament and the capsular ligament. And the two muscles which attaches here is vastus lateralis and vastus medialis. The vastus lateralis is present in the upper lateral part of intertrochanteric line, and vastus medialis is present in the lower medial part of intertrochanteric line. Now, something about the intertrochanteric crest. This is intertrochanteric crest. There is a quadrate tubercle in between, in the center. This quadrate tubercle receives the insertion of a muscle known as quadratus femoris. Now, next. In the next slide, we show you the view of upper end from above. Head, neck, and greater trochanter. In this, you can see the lateral surface of greater trochanter. This is a part of medial surface of greater trochanter. This is the upper border of greater trochanter. This receives first the muscle insertion of piriformis, which extend to the upper end, upper downturn end. Then there is a few fibers of gemellus inferior. Then there is a obturator internus, and then there is a gemellus superior. Now I'll begin with the shaft. The shaft is present between the upper end and the lower end, right? And it has three surfaces and three borders. The three borders, the first is the medial border, lateral border, and a posterior border. The posterior border has a prominent ridge in between, which is known as linea aspera. Now, the anterior surface, which is present between the medial and the lateral border, the anterior 3/4 part, anterior surface upper 3/4 part, and a part of lateral surface are covered, gives origin to a muscle known as vastus intermedius. The anterior surface lower 1/4 part gives origin to few fibers of articularis genu. Now next, the medial surface. The medial surface is overlapped by vastus medialis. It doesn't give origin to the vastus medialis. It is just overlapped by vastus medialis. So from where the vastus medialis originates? The vastus medialis fibers originates from the lower medial part of intertrochanteric line, which continues downward with the spiral line, and from the spiral line it runs downwards from the medial lip of linea aspera and downwards till the upper part of supracondylar line. Now, actually, what is linea aspera? What do you mean by linea aspera? The linea aspera is actually formed by the fusion of three primitive borders. Why? Because all the three septa of this bone, intermuscular septa of this bone, attaches on these linea aspera. Now, what are the parts of linea aspera? We have discussed in first demo classes. I'm just repeating it. There is a medial lip, lateral lip, and the intermediate area. The medial lip continues upward as a spiral line, which further continues with the intertrochanteric line. Downwards, the medial lip extends downwards as a medial supracondylar line, and at end there is a adductor tubercle. Now, lateral lip, above there is a roughened area which is known as gluteal tuberosity. Downwards, it continues as a supracondylar line. But because of this linea aspera, the upper two diverging lines, means the spiral line and the gluteal tuberosity, between these there is an area known as posterior surface, and below, between the two diverging supracondylar lines, there is a surface known as popliteal surface. So total 5 surfaces are present: anterior, medial, lateral, posterior, and the popliteal surface, right? So from the anterior surface, there is the origin of vastus intermedius, even from the lateral surface, vastus intermedius, right? And the vastus medialis is originating from the lower 1/3, lower part of intertrochanteric line, which continues to below spiral line, then medial lip of medial lip of linea aspera till the upper 2/3 part of supracondylar line, right? Now the vastus lateralis. The vastus lateralis arises from the upper lateral part of intertrochanteric line, then it runs downwards from the lateral margin of gluteal tuberosity, then downwards from the lateral lip of linea aspera, and in middle it fades up, right? So this line gives the origin to vastus lateralis. Now the attachment on the gluteal tuberosity. It receives the insertion of 1/4 fibers of gluteus maximus. Now the next attachments on the linea aspera. Now from medial to lateral, first of all, the three intermuscular septa, where they attaches, right? The medial intermuscular septum attaches on the medial lip of linea aspera. The lateral intermuscular septum attaches to the lateral lip of linea aspera. And in the intermediate region, there is one more lip, intermediate lip, which gives attachment to the posterior intermuscular septum. So how many septums we have? 3, right? Medial, medial, posterior, and lateral. Now the region between the medial and posterior intermuscular septum, means between the medial and the posterior intermuscular septum. This region in the upper part receives the insertion of adductor brevis, and in the lower part it receives the insertion of adductor longus. More lateral to it, this space. Can you see this empty space? On this space, there is an insertion of non-hamstring part of adductor magnus. Now, lateral to the non-hamstring part of adductor magnus, there is again a posterior intermuscular septum. Now, between the posterior and the lateral intermuscular septum, now between the posterior, now can you see this blue line? This is adductor magnus. Now, area present between the posterior and the lateral intermuscular septum, this region, lower part, gives origin to the short head of biceps femoris, which also originates from the upper 2/3 part of the supracondylar line. And on the lateral lip, as I have said, there is an attachment of intermuscular septum, the short head of biceps femoris. Now, if I talk about the arrangements from medial to lateral, so there is vastus medialis, then there is medial intermuscular septum, vastus medialis, medial intermuscular septum, then there is in the upper part adductor brevis, in the lower part adductor longus, then there is adductor magnus, then there is posterior intermuscular septum, and more lateral to it, in the lower part there is a short head of biceps femoris, and more laterally there is lateral intermuscular septum, and finally in the last most lateral part is muscle known as vastus lateralis, right? So these are the structures medial to lateral present on the linea aspera. Now I'll talk about the posterior surface. This is the posterior surface between the spiral line and the gluteal tuberosity. Now the structures which are present from medial to lateral, the first is the few fibers of the iliacus, then pectineus muscle, next to it adductor brevis, next to it, can you see this fine blue line which is demarcating the insertion of adductor magnus, and finally the gluteus maximus, right? So medial to lateral, iliacus, few fibers of iliacus, pectineus, adductor brevis, and magnus, adductor magnus, non-hamstring part, and gluteus maximus. Now popliteal surface. The popliteal surface is present between the medial and the lateral intermuscular septum, triangular surface, right? So on the popliteal surface, at the inferomedial angle, there is a origin of a muscle, medial head of gastrocnemius, and at the inferolateral angle, there is a origin of a muscle known as plantaris. Right? Now the medial supracondylar lines. The medial supracondylar lines receives three attachments. First is your medial intermuscular septum. Second, your non-hamstring part of adductor magnus, and the third in the upper two-third part, it is adductor longus. On the lateral intermuscular septum, three structures are attached. The first is lateral intermuscular septum. Then there is a short head of biceps femoris, and in the lower part there is plantaris. All right. Now we'll talk about the condyles, means the lower end of femur. It has two condyles, medial condyle and lateral condyle. This is the interior view of medial and the lateral condyle, medial condyle and lateral condyle. And this is the posterior view, medial condyle and the lateral condyle. In between there is an intercondylar fossa. The most prominent part on the outer surface of the condyle are the epicondyles. Are what? Epicondyles. The medial epicondyle receives attachment of tibial collateral ligament, and on adductor tubercle, it receives the tendon of adductor magnus, hamstring part. The lateral epicondyle receives the attachment of fibular collateral ligament, and also the fibers of popliteus. So the popliteus muscle actually originates from this point, right? Now there is intercondylar fossa. The intercondylar fossa has medial wall, lateral wall, and the floor. The medial wall at the anterior-inferior part. Medial wall, anterior-inferior part, there is an attachment of ligament known as posterior cruciate ligament. And on the posterior superior part of lateral wall, this receives the attachment of anterior cruciate ligament. A depressed notch present at the lateral part of intercondylar fossa, it accommodates the anterior cruciate ligament in extended knee. It is a characteristic feature of mankind due to adoption of upright position. That's all for today. Thank you.